You are listening to the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and, of course, the Glebe Central Pub. I'm your host, Brandon Piller, joined by Jack Richardson. And oh, do I love the sounds of Danger Flute. The Ottawa Senators have not won a game before this since November 11th. They snapped that 5-game win streak. They put out the Flames 4-game win streak. And a rare occurrence, but Jack and I get to do a postcast with good vibes after the Ottawa Senators win 4-3 over the Calgary Flames. Hello to everyone in the chat. Jack, buddy, how you feeling after this one?
Last game after the Vegas game that I did the postcast for, I said that was my wheelhouse, talking about a loss. So this is uncharted territory for the two of us, Pilsy. So Seriously. Looking forward to this postcast. Much needed win for the Ottawa Senators. Like you mentioned, first since November 11th. It's been a tough stretch here, but it's a lot to get into in this game alone. Just narratives coming in. We had a new broadcast with the Amazon Prime, the first time the Sens were on that, so we can talk about that. Michael Landlauer spoke in the intermission. We have so much to get into here, Pilsy, but just a good, I don't want to say tidy, but just a good win for the Ottawa Senators. 2 points is 2 points. On to the California trip.
I don't care how this win happened, Jack. I don't care that the Senators had 9 power play opportunities. I don't care that there was 2 disallowed goals. I don't care that the Calgary Flames scored with 38 seconds left to bring it within 1 and made it closer than it should have been. A win is a win, and we're not apologizing for that. My God, it feels good to get back in the win column. A much different postcast vibe than it was this weekend where we were down and out. We're feeling good. It's a vibecast again. The slump is busted for your Ottawa Senators. Jack, let's start with how this game started, though, because it started with the Calgary Flames scoring on the power play, and you thought, oh, no. Here we go again. The Ottawa Senators trailing in a game, something we are too familiar with. Hello, darkness, my old friend. 2 seconds left in the power play, and the Flames are able to get it going. What were your vibes like at that moment, Jack? Were you down in the dumps, or were you able to stay calm?
Down in the dumps, I'll put it that way. Listen, and it's not just a penalty that they got scored on. It was Brady Tkachuk in the penalty box, and I don't know how much more he's been talked about in a negative way than these last 2 days, just by the fan base, by opposing teams, fans. It's been a lot for Brady Tkachuk the last little bit. We will get into his game overall afterwards. Maybe a little hint at some Sen Central standouts here for us. But I think at that moment, I was just thinking exactly what you said. Here we go again, because it was not a great call, but they're down 1-0. Before that, this game, they were 1-10-1 when the other team scores first. Hadn't had a lead since the game against the Flyers. Like, it just felt like the Avalanche kept coming here, but they battled back. And the goal itself, I mean, I didn't know that it was going to become a special teams night in the moment. So you're thinking, oh boy, the power play's got to get going here, because the Sens power play was not good the past few games, especially against Vancouver. And they ended up having a big night tonight. A lot of opportunity, basically a practice out there for them with how many opportunities they ended up getting. But we'll get into all that again. But yeah, just didn't start the way they wanted. But I'm so happy that it ended up happening that way, because they needed a game where they do go down 1-0 and they still find a way to get back to their game. And I thought they did that really well. So ended up being a good thing. But yes, definitely thinking, here we go again. And the fact that it was Brady Tkachuk in the box was just the cherry on top. Here we go again. But yeah, were you thinking the same thing in that moment?
Oh yeah, I was down. I was like, this is a bad narrative. Brady in the box, allowing the first goal. 2 seconds left in the power play. They were so close to getting out of it, and you're down 1-0. And Jack, it almost became a lot worse because the Calgary Flames scored moments later. JBD kind of pushes Kirkland into Forsberg, but it's immediately waved off for goalie interference. The ref was very emphatic, no goal, didn't waste any time, and Calgary actually challenged it, and it ends up staying as no goal on the ice. Jack, what do you think about that? Did you think that was coming back because of the JBD contact on Kirkland?
I did, but before that, the fact that they were able to challenge during the commercial break, I didn't know you could do that, and I don't think you can.
They got a lot of time to look at that.
They got a lot of time to look at it. Usually, I think the way it works anyway is you see the coaches looking down at the monitor, talking to their video guy. They hold up their hand to the earpiece like that. The assistant coach does, and it's a quick thing. And there's some teams. Exactly. There you go, Pillsy. That's a good impression. You get them behind the bench. I think get Pillsy behind.
I'm ready.
Yeah. I think, some teams end up getting a bit more time than others, though. And it depends on the coach. So, they're good at stalling, but a full commercial break is not how it's supposed to go. So I don't know who's to blame there, but it's definitely not the way it's usually supposed to go. Then when they challenged it, I'm like, oh no, what are we doing here? Because JBD absolutely pushed him in to Anton Forsberg. It just, I guess, was deemed that he was already heading in that direction and didn't do enough to get out of the way. I don't really know what goaltender interference is. I think this is kind of the first game where the Sens have been wrapped up in it pretty heavily, right? I don't know off the top of my head. I can't really think of any other time where it's impacted their game, especially because it happened right after to the Sens a few moments later after Brady Tkachuk. But again, we'll get into that. A lot of goals. This is a 4-3. Could have been a 5-4 game with 2 disallowed goals. But you're the goalie, right? Did you think that was goaltender interference, even though JBD kind of nudged him in there a little bit?
I think the key to that play, Jack, is it was called no goal, goalie interference on the ice, because that makes it so much harder to overturn. But Kirkland didn't have any option there, really. JBD kind of guided him into Forsberg, but hey, I'm not complaining because it worked out for the Ottawa Senators big time, because Calgary challenges it, no goal, Sens get the power play, and as that power play ends, fighting on the half wall, Giroux gets it, Greg intercepts it, slides it to Gaudette, and he taps it in 1-1. Not a power play goal, but Adam Gaudette, that's a guy that just keeps finding ways to score, and that's a huge goal, Jack, because to go from 1-0, almost 2-0, and then tie it up was massive for the Ottawa Senators' momentum. And then just moments later, the Ottawa Senators score another goal because there's a delay of penalty. They're on the power play again. Brady goes to the middle. His shot's blocked. He sticks with it, and he risks it past Wolf. Drake Batherson screening in front. And that one I think was the right call. Sure, it's a bit of a soft play. Batherson barely touches him. But the rule is, if you touch him without anyone pushing you into him in the blue paint, they're going to call it. And that's what happens there. So as frustrating as it was for Brady Tkachuk not to get that goal, because that was an emphatic celebration, and he was scoring that goal whether Batherson touches him or not. It was a good screen. Wolf doesn't see it at all, but that's maybe a little bit of hockey karma going back the other way for the Flames after their disallowed goal.
Thank God Tkachuk scored later in the game, and because he got that moment where he still got to go celebrate. Similar spot that he shot it to, right in the slot there in the same end of the ice. But that really would have, that I thought that could have taken the wind out of their sails again. Like they kind of showed a bit of resiliency in this game, which we hadn't seen from the Sens during this losing streak. And I'm not gonna come on here and say like they're back, it's over, they're out of the slide. Like still a pretty big hole that they've dug themselves here. They're 9-11-1. Like, we're not getting ahead of ourselves here. And I like that the chat is also kind of in that same mode. I think people are still a little bit hungover from those few losses, especially the one on Saturday against Vancouver, just hungover in terms of their frustration and sadness and anger and everything. But let's talk about Adam Gaudette a little bit here, Pilsy, because that goal, at the time, I'm sure this was true. I don't know if it's still the same number, but according to Sportsnet stats, current goals per 60 leaders in the NHL this season, it's Alex Ovechkin at 2.84, right below him. I don't know if that's the next best, but close enough is Adam Gaudette at 2.72, just based on the minutes he's been playing. I think that's his 9th of the season he scores there. It's funny that he scores, though, after being elevated to the top line, but not playing with those guys. It was a hell of a pass from Ridley Gregg, who had 2 apples tonight, and then a nice play by Claude Giroux as well. So that's that secondary scoring that they've been missing. And I do count Claude Giroux as a bit of secondary scoring. Just given his ice time, I think he's not playing on the top line right now. So that's what you want to see. And that's how these games get going. I think it was good to see that, because Tkachuk takes a tough penalty. You're thinking, oh boy, here we go again. They almost go down 2-0, get a favorable bounce on the goaltender interference. Then it's Adam Gaudette getting a goal, and then Tkachuk scores and obviously gets taken back. But I think that was just a good way to kind of get the rest of the team, their legs into it. It was a brand new bottom 6 for the Sens tonight with a couple call-ups. Again, I keep teasing what we're going to get into, but Cole Reinhardt, Zach Ostapchuk getting the call here tonight. So I thought Ridley Gregg had a great game. Honestly, one of his best in a while. He's moving his legs. So to me, obviously Gaudette gets the goal, but that pass from Gregg is what I'm thinking about on that goal.
Yep, it was a great play all around. And we're going to get to something we haven't been able to talk about in a while, but the Ottawa Senators playing with a lead in just a moment, because we got to let you know that this postcast is brought to you by our friends over at the Glebe Central Pub. You guys know that the Glebe Central Pub is the official sponsor of the postcast, and it's a great night to be talking about the Glebe Central Pub, Jack, because they were on tonight's broadcast. We put out the bat signal for Sens fans to go to the Glebe Central Pub. I don't know when that was. A couple months ago, Amazon was filming, trying to find spots with Sens fans in the city. We hooked them up with the Glebe Central Pub. A bunch of Sens fans packed the GCP, and they were on the broadcast tonight. So you love to see that. And Jack, you got to experience for yourself the vibes of the Glebe Central Pub shuttle. Maybe not the game you want to go to, but tell us about the vibes on the shuttle at least.
I'll be honest, man. Like it's the best way to get to and from the Canadian Tire Center. I can't think of another way. And the biggest part is getting back from the Canadian Tire Center. We all know we've been there when they've lost and getting stuck in traffic on the 417, even in the parking lot at the CTC. I know they've done some stuff to make it better, but you beat the traffic with that Sens shuttle. Right back downtown. It was a Saturday night. So yeah, awful result. And I almost don't even want to talk about the Vancouver game, but it's hard not to with their play tonight, just referencing the bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But that bus, it kind of lightens the mood, even if they play that kind of game. So highly recommend the GCP Sens shuttle on game days.
So you can check that out for yourself. Go to the Glebe Central Pub website and see all the dates that the shuttle is running, and you can see how awesome it is to go on a bus packed with Sens fans with good vibes. You guys know that the vibes are free at the GCP. This episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You guys heard me right. You can win up to 100 times your cash on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Best part is you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinion into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, we're back at the Postcast. Brandon Piller joined by Jack Richardson. We're talking about a W. It's a vibecast tonight. Thank you to everyone in the chat, 380 of us here. And the Ottawa Senators get a 4-3 win over the Calgary Flames, snapping their 5-game losing streak. And Jack, we teased it before the break, but the Ottawa Senators score a goal on the power play. Drake Batherson screening in front. This time he learns his lesson. He doesn't bump into Wolf and he just tips the puck in instead. And it's a 2-1 Ottawa Senators lead. That was their first lead in 275 minutes. How'd that one feel, Jack? That's 275 minutes is a long time.
That is a long time. And I think when I see those numbers, especially they throw them up with shutout graphics a lot. Like if a goalie's on a hot streak, and you don't really compute what that means. And that's over 12 periods of hockey, I think. That's a long time to not have a lead in a game. I could be wrong on that math. Not a math guy. Don't check me on that. But it's a long time. It's a lot of periods to not play with a lead. And given how this team plays when they're down, so it's a good thing that they got up and they never looked back tonight. So that was a big goal. And I think Jake Sanderson had one of his better games of the season. I think he had a couple moments defensively still where maybe some turnovers here and there, but overall offensively, when he had the puck on his stick, it's as good as he's looked all season. So he starts it with that play, just getting pucks to the net on the power play. They had 9 opportunities tonight, man, but I think even on the ones they didn't score on and convert on, which was 7,
they were buzzing.
They looked good. And I was almost gonna put out a tweet during the first period before Kachuk's goal went in, even though they called it back. I think they had 4 in the first, 3 opportunities in the first, maybe at least. And they just looked good. They were moving the puck around, getting pucks to the net. Dustin Wolf is a hell of a goalie. That I think that guy's my Calder favorite right now. Even though the Sens are headed to San Jose, we might be seeing another Calder favorite next game. But I think getting pucks on Wolf was a big problem that they didn't do against Vancouver and even against Vegas for the most part. So until that third period, obviously. So it was good to see them kind of generate momentum off of it on home ice, especially. It also just gets the top guys the puck, gets them feeling the puck. They look really good tonight. So Batherson, man, really, I know that we talked about everyone on the team, I think, the last few days, just how everyone wants to get traded. We were gonna do some mock trades tonight, even if it all went downhill. But I think Drake Batherson's had a really good season, and I think he had another goal and assist tonight. Just he's always been really good on the power play, but he's bringing it at even strength now too. So it's really good to see him getting on the board just all across the ice at all situations.
And someone that got on the board opened their account in the NHL, their first NHL goal. It was Cole Reinhardt. I mean, what a story for Cole Reinhardt, 2020 draft pick. Grinds his way through Belleville, only had a couple opportunities in the NHL, and he gets his first NHL goal today. And Jack, what I loved about that too is it was extra memorable because he snaps his stick on that. So he's going to keep that snap stick, kind of like for Lord of the Rings fans, that snap sword that ends up being the hero's sword. He can keep that and have it framed forever. So that's a cool moment for Cole Reinhardt, and that's a guy deserving of his first NHL goal.
Yeah, not only picked that late in the 2020 draft, he was the 10th player the Sens took. So yeah, think about depth on just the organization chart. Like he from the get-go was kind of fighting an uphill battle, and that 2020 draft is so good for the Sens. The early returns are I don't even know if you can call them early returns now, but just almost every player from that draft is an impact player, which is not something you see every day. So getting him his first goal, I think his first game, I don't know if you mentioned it there, but his first NHL game, he serves that penalty. I forget who it was against, but it was a few years ago. Serves a penalty and the game-winning goal gets scored on it. So really tough way to, go through your first NHL game. So for him to finally get that first goal, I think he had a point earlier this year as well in Vegas. And Look who assisted it is Jake Sanderson and Ridley Gregg, two guys taking a bit before him in the 2020 draft. So pretty cool seeing that come together. I liked it when they had almost 6 guys, I think, in the lineup last year from that draft class. So really cool. And again, I'm going to mention Jake Sanderson again. That play at the blue line was one of his best. Just an Erik Karlsson-esque no-look pass to Ridley Gregg, right over to Cole Reinhardt, who broke his stick on the play. That is a crazy way. I'd imagine I'm envisioning some kind of glass case where he's got the broken stick and the puck as well.
Yeah.
So he's got, if anything, it's better. It's not even like you mentioned, he's going to hold it like the broken sword. He has 2 mementos from this night for him on his first goal.
Yeah, it's awesome. Definitely going to keep that stick. So that makes it 3-1. And then Brady, the puck don't lie. You know, he was earning of that first goal that gets called back, but he gets another one. And this time it's Drake Batherson who feeds him out front, and he beats Wolf with a quick shot. That's the second power play goal of the game for the Ottawa Senators. And they end up getting a lot more power play time as Lomberg ends up taking a double minor, high sticking on Shabbat, who missed a bunch of time after blocking a shot. Thank God he came back. This team cannot have any more injuries after being so healthy for so long. And then you see David Perron and Artem Zub no longer in the lineup. That led to a couple call-ups. And they get a 5-on-3 for a long time because Sharon Govich trips Shabbat on the line right after. And sure, they don't score on this opportunity, Jack, but I really thought the Sens were doing a lot of good things with their opportunities. I mean, a 2-minute 5-on-3, you better be doing good things. But this was a good sign that their power play is starting to get a little bit of momentum and breathe some life into it, eh?
So I want to go back to the Vancouver game. I do, because I think the power play was a big sticking point for me anyway. I was in the building on Saturday, and I know that you guys had a unbelievable all-time vent cast, the 3 of you,
Yeah.
Ross and Martian joining you. But from what I remember, I went back home. I watched the entire thing. It was an hour and a half long. I sat and watched the entire thing.
Awesome.
It was cathartic. But yeah, I think a point that you guys might not have touched on enough was the 5-minute power play that they had in the first period.
Yeah.
So the killer instinct wasn't there, but it was there tonight is kind of what my point is. They had 9 opportunities, which is more than enough. And honestly, 2 for 9 isn't that great, all things considered. Yeah. But you're right. Like, they generated enough looks, and that's all they needed to do. Like, make the goalie stand on his head, make the goalie look like an all-star, which I know is frustrating when you don't score, but at least you're trying, right? They're generating looks, making him move around, make him be the best penalty killer on the ice. So I thought it was great. I thought everyone was getting touches. Kachuk was moving his feet out there too. Sanderson keeping the puck in. I believe he kept it in on Brady's goal, actually, which was really nice. So just everyone looked really good on the power play tonight. You can tell they really dialed in with all of that. And thankfully, because that 5-minute one against Vancouver was just so pedestrian that it changed the game, in my opinion, in that game. So good to see them bounce back on that. And like I said, it gets the top guys active. And I think, let's say even the Flames killed all 9 of those, the Flames aren't happy because they know that they're getting Stützle the puck. They're getting Kachuk the puck. Norris, Batherson, Sanderson are all feeling good if they're touching it that much. So felt really good about how they looked on that. Would have been nice if they put one in at least and they had a 2-minute 5-on-3, but we can't nitpick when they win a game, Pilsy.
Yeah, we're not going to nitpick too much, Jack. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to enjoy these moments when we get them. And then the Calgary Flames, they don't want this game to be over yet. They pull their goalie. The Sens are not able to clear. Kadri walks in and rips one through traffic, 4-3 with 38 seconds left. Jack, were you nervous at all at this one?
No. And you know what? Anton Forsberg looked great. I think when you're a winning team, your goalie has to be the best player in the third period, no matter what. I think even if you're out playing the other team, I think Olmark's a good example of that, right? In that St. Louis game, they were up 8-1 and he stones the door or closes the door in that third period. Didn't feel like he needed to, but you still keep it an 8-1 game, right? Yep. That could be an 8-4 game if he kind of lets his foot off the gas. So the goalie always has to be your best player in the third period, I think, if you're winning. And Forsberg was a vacuum. And obviously that one goes in by Kadri, but I wasn't really worried. He was sprawling out to save everything. The Sens were desperate to win that game. You could tell at the end, they did not want to choke that one away like they did against Philly. So it was good to see them kind of bear down and just eat pucks, I think. But they didn't make it easy in those 38 seconds. Like the Flames had some chances. There was a giveaway, I think by Sanderson or maybe Norris just at the end there. But yeah, I was worried at the end, like literally the last few seconds, but not when the puck dropped. I was like, they got this, right? And then I ended up being right, but it was a little dicey there at the end.
It was close, yes, but we'll take close. A 4-3 win for the Ottawa Senators. We're going to have Sen Central standouts when we get back. I think Jack and I can snap it around a couple times. Good game for a bunch of different guys in this game for the Ottawa Senators. And if you wanted to make a couple shekels on an Ottawa Senators win, you could have done that at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and more, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. All right, another edition of the Vibecast. It's Brandon Piller, joined by Jack Richardson, producer Ross behind the scenes, and it is so nice to get a 5-game losing streak snap before they head out on the road. Jack, let's get into some Sen Central standouts here, presented by the Glebe Central Pub. Jack, I will give you the first opportunity for your Sen Central standout.
I appreciate the nod there, Pilsy. I'm going to start, though, with a little bit of a nod before we forget for the new broadcast. I know we mentioned it was a brand new broadcast for them off the top here. I thought that it was really fresh. It felt similar but new, similar and new at the same time. I don't know if that even makes sense, but just new voices, new perspectives. I thought they did a really good job of talking about both teams equally, which is hard to do, harder than you'd think to do, I think, for a national broadcast. So, and I think they did a great job. Michael Andlauer on there as well. I'm sure you guys will talk about that on LOSP throughout the week. He had some great quotes. Just every question was a banger for Andlauer. So yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to the broadcast because it was unique. It was new. You know, the game's not on cable for the Ottawa Senators for the first time, and I can't remember, probably ever. So you had to get as Prime to stream it. If you didn't have it already, but I thought that was really good. I know you also had a good time with it, eh?
Yeah, I loved the Amazon Prime broadcast. I really liked their graphic packs. I thought they were fresh. They looked great. Added a lot of stats to it. A couple LOSP guests made appearances as well. Mike Kelly from Sport Logique, and go check out today's episode. Andy Petrillo, you saw her on the desk in the CTC. I love how they did that as well. Get the fan vibes on it. We saw some familiar faces there. A guy, Nick Spence, was in the background looking good. So lots of LOSP friends were on the TV tonight. But let's talk about some friends of ours, Jack, on the Ottawa Senators that had good games. Who was your first Sen Central standout, presented by the Glebe Central Pub?
I am going to go with Jake Sanderson. I think touched on it a little bit. Those plays he made. He had 2 assists. Could have had a third one on Kachuk's second, but his only goal would end up being he had a nice keep in. My TV is in the background. I don't know if people have noticed. Might not be enough wins that we've had to do, but I'm only putting that logo up there for wins. So if it's a loss, it's a black screen. It's been a black screen too.
Do we got to get you a loss graphic? Some sort of sad graphic to put on there?
I don't know if it deserves a graphic. Just black. It just deserves darkness after
just
losses.
darkness.
But yeah, so I like to throw that up after wins. I think it's almost distracting if there's nothing on there. So, but yeah, I think Jake Sanderson was back to himself tonight for the most part, and he had to step up. Shabbat left the game for an extended period of time. I didn't think he was going to come back. Yeah, he didn't come back for the start of the third period. He came back midway through. So you missed,
and then he comes back and gets high sticked in the face immediately, and then tripped right after.
Just a battle for Thomas Chabot. Yeah. Maybe it's the bobblehead curse he's got, but I think Sanderson was elite. I think he was elite. He was probably their best player tonight, which is saying something because the German's been their best player every night so far this season. So really big game from Sanderson. He needed to step up, and he did. Even strength point, which has been a sticking point for other fan bases trying to go after Jake Sanderson, which we won't have any of. But yeah, he needed a game like that. And he had it tonight.
And Travis Green rode the hot hand, Jack. Did you take a peek at Jake Sanderson's ice time?
I didn't. Can I guess?
Yes, please.
So keep in mind, 9 power plays, okay? And an injury to Chabot. I'm going to guess he played 28 minutes.
30 minutes and 29 seconds in a regulation game for Jake Sanderson. I mean, yeah, you make a good point there. A lot of power play time and Thomas Chabot being out for a while, but
31 shifts.
This is vintage Jake Sanderson. Like, this is what we've come to know him being able to do. And I bet if you went down to the locker room, Scott Niedermayer-esque, he wouldn't even have a bead of sweat on him. And he's like, well, we could have played overtime. Like, you guys want to go out for a skate after this? Like, that's the kind of guy he is. So, Jack, that was my first overall Send Central standout choice as well. So great minds think alike. I love that call by you, Jake Sanderson. We need to see him get back to the way he was before, especially no Artem Zub. It'll be interesting to see how that decor shapes up. So I love that call for you. For me, my first Send Central standout presented by the Glebe Central Pub is going to be number 71, Ridley Gregg. We talked about it. He had 2 assists in this game. That pass to Gaudette was really nice. He has the wherewithal to know that even though the power play is over, that Calgary Flames guy isn't in the play yet. So you still have a man advantage. You still have numbers. If you knew that there was guys right there covering you, that means someone's open on the other side. Just get it over there, and the hockey god will finish the job. So I thought that was a great pass by Ridley Gregg. And he assists on Cole Reinhardt's goal. You always love being a part of a player's first NHL goal from the same draft class too. So that's what you want to see. And I just think it's becoming very clear. I shouldn't say becoming, it's been one game, but it's been made very clear that I think Ridley Gregg is a much more effective player as a bottom 6 player. And that's not a slight on Ridley Gregg. He's a young player, and I think he can evolve into a middle 6 player maybe one day, but I just think having him as a bottom 6 player allows him to play his game a little bit better. He's not up against all those top opposition lines on forward and on defense. And he was able to look more like himself tonight, even got in the mix a little bit after the whistle. So that's what you want to see from Ridley Gregg.
So he's just a guy who needs to get in the mix. And you're right, because I think when you're playing those top guys, maybe the players you're playing aren't really as willing to get in the mixes with you,
True.
right? So that could be part of it. But the other thing too is he's young. We got to remember this, that yeah, he's the same draft as Stützle and Sanderson, but these guys are established NHL stars right now. Ridley Gregg still needs some time. Like, he's still on his entry-level deal, needs a new contract this coming off season. But I really like that point by you. I think you're right. And he does seem like a player, though, that later on in his career, in 3, 4, 5 seasons, could be a very effective top 6 player. I think he just needs to get comfortable in his role. But you mentioned too, defensively, I think he's been good defensively. I think his analytics are good for most of their wingers. I think he's up in the top echelon for the Sens wingers. So again, I don't have exact numbers. I see one tweet, three tweets, and I'm like, oh yeah, Ridley Gregg's good defensively. So I'm just kind of maybe assuming, which is a bit dangerous, but I'm pretty sure I've seen some good metrics from him. I feel like on those hockey stat cards, he's usually towards the middle of the pack, which is what you want. And I think, I'm not going to mention him as my next standout, but Shane Pinto, I like the two of them together. I think Pinto does need to get going, but he's finding ways, and the broadcast mentioned it, that he's getting mixed up in the scrums. I think he's doing that because he's with Ridley Gregg. He doesn't really have a choice. So I like that a lot. So yeah, I like Ridley Gregg as a pick there. Why don't we throw it back to you, Pilsy, for let's do snake draft style for these standouts.
Love it. Okay, well, I'm going to go with the captain then, Brady Tkachuk. Like we mentioned, that goal he scored that was disallowed, you could see he wanted that one badly. He had a good celly, and he would have scored regardless of whether Batson knocks Wolf or not. But he doesn't let that stop him. He still scores later. He gets an assist. He had 5 shots on goal, 2 hits. He plays almost 20 minutes in this one. I thought it was a good game from the captain, and that's the kind of performance you want to see for Sens fans that are frustrated. Trust me, we get it. We're frustrated as well. But the chatter about trading the captain was disavow on this show, trading the captain. That's our captain. Brady Tkachuk is the leader of this team. Sure, does he have his emotional outbursts during losses? And that's something he's got to work on. Absolutely. But it's games like this and performances like this where you're reminded you got to take the good with the bad with a young captain sometimes. And like Travis Green mentioned, Jack, and I'll toss it to you on this one because Travis Green had some great quotes about it today. You'd way rather have a guy play with too much passion and you got to figure out ways to tone him down than have it the opposite way. What'd you think of Brady's game tonight?
I think that was really well put from Travis Green, and he was pissed off. He was pissed off getting asked about it. He was pissed off that it was a conversation. I feel like I need to put my hand up, not because I was saying like we got to get rid of Brady. He's the problem. He's the problem. I put out a tweet on Saturday night of his fight and just said it was fun a few years ago. It's not fun now. I didn't give any other context to that, and that's my bad because people on Twitter like to jump to conclusions. I've learned. I had half the people telling me that I don't like fighting and I'm a loser. I had half the people telling me that Brady's a loser and isn't a good captain. Other half, I know that's 3 halves now, but I had
3 halves.
The portions were very divided, and the other half was, or the portion was saying, for the fifth half, the sixth half was saying that Tkachuk's, what are you doing trying to talk about trading Tkachuk? He's the heartbeat of this team. It was none of that. It was just kind of encapsulating, like, it's just a frustrating stretch for the Sens. And it was fun when he went and fought people at the end of losses 3 years ago when they weren't expected to win. Doesn't feel as good now. I just want to make that very clear. But yeah, all the chatter about Tkachuk is nonsense. I do understand it though from fans. I mean, there's when losing happens, it's management, it's ownership and coaching. And when all of that's already changed, we talked about this against the Oilers in that postcast. When all that's already changed, the next up is the captain. Like, he's going to take the heat, and I think that he knows that. What I do like though about what the Sens have done, they've kind of revamped their media landscape. Brady hasn't talked to the media since that game, right? And I don't mind that. I don't know if he spoke tonight. I'm sure he might have, but I think that's a change in years past. I felt like he was in front of the microphone after every single loss last year, being the right captain, being the guy to take the fall. But I think now that they've got other guys in the room who can do that, who can step up, is important. And it wasn't just Travis Green doing it. It was Michael Andlauer. We mentioned that interview he had with the broadcast today in the first intermission. That was really nice, having your owner and your head coach come out and defend you. Not that it needed to be said, but having it said in such a impactful way by those two men, I think goes a long way to showing that Brady Tkachuk is the man for this rebuild to see it through. And he showed it tonight, like just all-round performance from Tkachuk.
Yep, love it. Who is your next Sens Central standout?
We'll go quickly here. I'm going to go with Drake Batherson. I think we touched on him a little bit. Just I think he's having a really good year. Consistent every night for the most part. He's moving his legs better than he has been. I think that outside of Stützle, he's probably been their most consistent forward, maybe outside of Tkachuk as well. I've really liked Batherson's play. He's a beast. He's so big out there that I think a lot of defensemen get surprised by how he can't handle, or they can't handle him. So what'd you see from Drake tonight?
Yeah, I thought it was a good game from Drake, and I think it's one of those things, I already referenced it, but where he's too close to Wolf on the screen for the first goal and gets disallowed. So he's got to be extra careful, because let's say he backs into Wolf again on that play, Jack, and negates another goal. You're getting reamed out in the video room the next day, because that, like, you can't have that happen. Sure, it's a mistake, and you just maybe lose track of your positioning a little bit, and it happens. It's not malicious or intentional, but you got to be aware of that, because the players know, the coaches know that the officials are calling that tight this year. And if you bump the goalie in the paint, it's an easy call for them to make. That makes it a little bit more black and white than the gray area we're used to seeing with goalie interference. So I thought him being able to have more awareness and not do that the second time. And then that the key to that kind of tic-tac-toe triangle play, where it starts on the point, goes to the guy beside the net, and then comes out to the guy in the bumper. The key to that play is the guy beside the net, the middle pass, because not only does he have to accept a longer hot pass, because the defenseman's going to send that in hot to Batherson, he's got to accept that and one touch it perfectly, because as soon as the penalty killers see that play's setting up, they get their sticks in the lane to try to block that bumper guy from even getting that pass. So it's so important for Batherson to be accurate on receiving the pass and one touching it with accuracy to Brady, and he scores that goal. So yeah, I think it was a great game by Drake Batherson.
Good point. Yeah, the bumper play doesn't get enough love for the guy bumping the puck. Yeah,
right?
Like, it's hard to do. The Flames scored on it too, and it was a nice play. And the Sens get burnt by it a lot, but they also score on it a lot. So it's kind of a give and take. But yeah, I think Batherson looks back to his form before that high ankle sprain a few years ago, when Aaron Dell really derailed part of his career. But I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of guys who we could pick. Really, I mean, is that the first win that Tim Stützle hasn't been mentioned? And I thought he was great tonight again. Like,
true.
Just a lot of guys that had good games. I mean, Gaudette, that we haven't talked about, 9 goals for Adam Gaudette as a fourth line center is unbelievable. If you told me that
top
at
six
the
player
beginning
now,
of the year,
though, Jack.
top six now. I am going to say jury's still a bit out. I know they started well, but I don't think they got enough time at 5-on-5 to really see what I thought of that line. But hopefully they just stick with a few guys for the long run here in this road trip. It's not necessarily a tough road trip. You got San Jose, LA, and Anaheim, but man, you got to win those games now, especially with where they've put themselves in the standings. So must-win game starting every night from here on out in the season for the Sens.
Especially against the Sharks and the Ducks. You gotta not only beat those teams, but you gotta beat those teams convincingly. LA, we saw what happened. They've already played the Sens here. That game got a little bit out of control. So that one, who knows how that one's going to go. But the games up against San Jose and Anaheim, you gotta win. I think that leads perfectly into this conversation, Jack, unless you had something more you want to hop in on this game.
It was kind of more about their 5-on-5 expected goals. I know that was one of the stats we had up there. It wasn't great, but would you say though, like I was kind of thinking before this game, the Sens haven't won a game where they didn't really deserve to win. Like there's the deserve to win a meter, right? Where they kind of stole one. I think it might say they did analytically in this game, but I didn't feel that way. I felt like I know some of the calls might have been dicey. That one on Uyghur on Giroux, I don't know. I mean, if Giroux's laughing after that one, it's like I can see why Uyghur was upset about that one and the Flames were, but I think,
but also he does kind of like give him a quarterback sack type tackle there.
Yeah,
but
anytime you have no stick and you go after and lunge after a guy, you're probably going to get called. And Giroux, just savvy veteran, goes down. I'll put it this way: if that's Stützle doing that, different conversation. I think online and everything like that. Just a bit of a
Giroux's face says it all, like you mentioned.
100%,
like Giroux was laughing it up after that one. He's like, "I got you," and there's no way the refs can't call that.
But I guess my point is, like, it didn't feel like they got outplayed. I think they earned a good amount of those calls. The Flames were really sloppy, like a lot of stick penalties. That one on Shabbat when they're down 4-2, killing a 4-minute minor or 4-minute double minor, just a lot of bad penalties from the Flames. So I think the Sens earned that win. But my point is, going to San Jose, going to LA, going to Anaheim, they got to steal one. Just steal a game you don't deserve to win. You don't need to bring your A game. Find that B game where you can go and sneak out a win. Get Ullmark hot. Forsberg looked great tonight too. I don't think we gave him enough credit in those standouts. I think he was stellar all night. So that's what I had. What did you want to talk about going forward here?
Well, I want to talk about the goaltending. The chat, I've seen the chat and on Twitter, a lot of people chiming in on how they think the Ottawa Senators should move ahead with the goaltending on this road trip. The San Jose Sharks, Wednesday night at 10:30 p.m. Get your late night coffees brewing for that one, guys. Who we starting? Because Ullmark has not looked great recently. And Forsey, when he's been plugged and played a couple times, I think he's been decent. So, Jack, who are you going with next game?
Man, like, I don't think you ride one guy. If you're going to maybe give a bit more of a tandem approach because you like how Forsberg's playing, I think you got to go right back to Ullmark. But man, it's hard to deny Forsberg. He looked good tonight, man. And I know that his stat line might not be super pretty. 3 goals against. Everyone's saying Forsberg. Yeah, geez. I mean, look, Ullmark hasn't been the reason they've lost, but he hasn't put them in positions to win during this losing streak. So if you're really desperate, and I think what they do, wow, okay, we got a lot of Forsberg love here.
There are some Ullmark comments. I'm just trying to prove a point here that it seems like the majority are very confident that it should be Forsberg. I
mean, worst case scenario, like none of these are back-to-backs. December is a heavy schedule back-to-back wise. There's a lot on the road and stuff like that. So I think just keep them both rolling as much as you can. I don't know when Forsberg's last.
Actually, wait, sorry, Jack. There is back-to-back Saturday and Sunday. Kings and Ducks is back-to-back. So
hand up, that's my bad. Okay,
so the next game isn't a back-to-back. That's both our bad.
So obviously they're each going to take one of those games.
Yes.
So I like Ullmark against the Kings. Just play him against the stronger team. Okay. I still go with him Thursday. I still go with Ullmark on Thursday. He should be good enough to win that game for you. Obviously, he hasn't been bad. I think he's just letting in the ones that you kind of expect him to because the Sens haven't played that well in front of him. I was in the building on Saturday and didn't feel like he deflated them at all with any of those plays, really. Edmonton, kind of the same. Like there was that one play, Vegas, that one soft one, but he was pretty good against Vegas. So I'd ride with Ullmark. I think just keep it like no need to make a story where there's not one needed. I think is how I'd put it.
Yeah, I'm leaning Ullmark as well, honestly, just because you got to show confidence in him, and you got to give him these opportunities. And with the back-to-back coming, it's not like Forsey's going to be sitting on the shelf for a while. He's going to get right back into game action soon as well.
And let's make it clear here. Like, Ullmark's the starting goalie. So you don't, after one good win, this isn't DJ Smith hockey. You don't go to the hot goalie right away. That's just a mess if you do that, because you're not a great team sometimes and you're not going to win every game. So then that guy's never going to play again. So, however, I think the standard is a bit different for Ullmark, though. It's like, if he gets hot, just keep him going as long as he's healthy. But I don't mind these spots for Forsberg. He's got to be able to come in as a backup and win games and play like he did tonight. That's really solid backup goaltending, in my opinion. I don't think he's been that much better than Ullmark to this point this season to justify giving him the reins, really. That's kind of where I stand. And that, based on nothing but vibes for me. I don't have any numbers that I'm basing that off of. The numbers I know are better for Forsberg, but I think you just got to stay with Ullmark, stay with the plan.
Hey, this is the Vibecast, Jack. Nothing wrong with making takes and opinions based on vibes. I think Forsey has played better, but you have to give Ullmark the opportunity to get hot. And I know that's frustrating. I'm an Ullmark guy, and I'm frustrated. I took the Ullmark jersey out of my case, Jack. I don't know if you saw that. That's how upset I was at how things are going. I didn't want any Ottawa Senator jersey up there. We'll see if it makes its way back sometime during this road trip. But yeah, this... with the goalies, and the thing too, I remember the point I wanted to make here. Forsberg, it isn't just like a random guy backup that's just like here making $800K. Like, he's making $2.75 million. He's played a lot of time in Ottawa. Like, he's a guy that you need to know can give you big starts and big moments when you plug him in. And I feel like he's doing a decent job of that. So let him keep being the guy that gets plugged in, and let Ullmark be the more steady guy. And hopefully he figures it out with more time playing rather than not.
I'd say it's a good problem to have, though. Like, I know, again, the numbers aren't as good for Ullmark, but I'm not sitting here. I don't think this is a disaster that he's been putting in front of the coaching staff. Right. But I think after that Edmonton game, I was a little iffy maybe, but Vegas game really kind of sealed it for me. He had that one bad goal, but he was the reason that wasn't a 7-0 game after 2. So I think just go with Ullmark, see what you get. They're playing a team in San Jose that they should beat. They're playing a team in LA that they can beat. They've beaten before. And then they're playing a team in Anaheim that they should beat as well. So just 3 games that really are gettable. This is a bit of a not a layover schedule, but their next 10-ish games are pretty easy before that big road trip for the World Juniors. So just something you want to see the goalies get in a groove. This is where you can make up a lot of points in the standings and kind of get back into the conversation. Just a little advice to Sens fans, though. Let's not look at the standings. I'm not even pulling it up. It's a late November.
I'm pulling up the standings as you speak, Jack. That's hilarious.
I don't think it's worth it. You're going to see the Leafs way up there like every November. You're going to see the Sens way down there like every November. Not worth it right now. Not worth it. So I'm just going to keep it away until maybe after this road trip, and we'll see how they do on it.
That's fair. I will say, though, Jack, and it's embarrassing that this is where we're at, but I kept looking at the standings and being like they're 1 point away from being dead last. Not anymore. 3 points away. We're pulling ahead here.
And how many out of the second wild card? Just let me know.
Okay, you want to see standings
sure.
now?
So
all right.
3
Jack's
out of last place, but
standings.
how many out of the second wild card? Is it a lot?
It's not crazy. It's 4 points, Jack, but the issue is those 4 points, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other teams ahead of you in that race. And the Sens are at the bottom of that with 19 points. Red Wings with 20, Blue Jackets with 20, Flyers with 21, Islanders with 21, and then the Bruins with 23, tied in that wild card spot with the Sabres. The good news is, I believe the Ottawa Senators are better than the Red Wings, Blue Jackets, Flyers, and Islanders. So
just going to say that.
With time, we hope they can turn it around. I mean, we went from last postcast being down in the dumps and me being close to smashing the panic button and all of us collectively losing our minds. So I'm not going to get too crazy talking about getting into the wild card, but those are just the facts. Can I
that Vencast was awesome. I keep want to go back to it. And if there are Sens fans who want to listen to it, I recommend it after we wrap up here tonight. But it was so perfect because I was so mad after that game, spent so much money just on everything, the trip, the tickets, everything. It was brutal. But I was surprised you didn't press the panic button because I've never seen you so mad. And the fact that you didn't push it, I was like, what else do you need to see?
Yeah, to be honest, Jack, my plan was to press the panic button, that vent cast, but I didn't. We had our good buddy Kyle from Locked On Canucks waiting in the waiting room. I didn't want him to see this happen to a fellow podcaster. I didn't want to see him. I didn't want him to see me go through that and press the panic button. So I was waiting for him to come on, chit chat with us. And then after, I was going to be like, okay, now I'm going to explode again. I'm going to hit that panic button. But we vented. We had a therapy session. I calmed down and I said, you know what? I can't be pressing the panic button in November. I know it looks bad. I know it's panic button worthy, but I cannot be doing it as someone that covers this team day in and day out. I got to give it a little bit more time. Will I come to regret that? Probably. Will the panic button be pressed sometime this year? Maybe even within the next couple weeks? Again, probably. But for now, it remains unpressed, turned off, and we're not doing that. So it's a vibe cast, which is a nice bounce back from the ultimate vent cast. Jack and I don't get to do this too often. I believe, Jack, if I'm remembering our stats correctly, this is only our 4th win together out of, I think we were 3-10 was our record before, or 3-10-1, something like that. So it's nice to get it's nice to get a win once in a while, eh?
Yeah, and I think let's put it like this: we'll probably do a few more to just the two of us throughout the season.
Yep.
If we get enough wins, just the two of us, maybe that'll translate to a playoff berth. Who knows? Just rules of average. I don't know if that makes sense, but it feels like that's the case. So we're also inching our way back up to 500, just like the Ottawa Senators are. They're thankfully a little bit closer than the two of us are all time. And yeah, just a last note, congratulations to producer Ross.
Yes.
I feel like we should give him some stick taps, and obviously Rachel more stick taps than Ross gets, but welcoming their daughter into the world. That was really cool to see. Producer Ross still battling through probably just lack of sleep and everything for those two. But I just wanted to give a congrats. I know that he put out on his Twitter that they it all went well earlier this morning, I guess.
Yeah, big congrats. We're so stoked for the entire family. And hey, that's a slump buster if I ever seen one, because we were down in the dumps, and it's the old baby bump. Apparently it works for podcasters covering a team as well to get out of 5-game losing streak. So we love it. Yes, good call, Jack. Big congrats to the whole family. And we will be back with another episode of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's going to be a bit of a later drop tomorrow. You guys know the deal. You can find us on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube. Ross is going to get his takes on this game. He's going to want to talk about a win. I can guarantee you that's a guy that loves to hear danger flute. So he's going to be talking about a 4-3 Ottawa Senators win over the Calgary Flames to snap a 5-game losing streak, to extinguish a Flames 4-game winning streak, and they can head on the road trip at least with 2 points in their back pocket. This has been an awesome Vibecast. Thank you so much, all 300 people in the chat. The chat's been buzzing today. We got some positivity. It's a nice, refreshing Vibecast for the people. So for myself, Brandon Piller, for Jack Richardson, for producer Ross, thank you to our sponsor, the Glebe Central Pub. Of course, you guys know they sponsor the Postcast. This has been another edition of the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.